Thank you so much to the members of the press and fellow countrymen. Today I deal with matters that are prevailing in the country in a rather very tense atmosphere, a lot of anxiety from many Zambians, still waiting for the results of this election. As you are aware, we are participants in this election, and we have information from polling stations that are reaching us, and our assessment from the trajectory from those polling stations is that our colleagues, the United Party for National Development, are headed for a very big win. And in conceding in this matter as a party and as a candidate, I would like to give the following counsel to the nation. It's an activity that I've done for many, many years. And I believe that under such circumstances, when the country is on its tentacles of fear and anxiety, a voice of reason must continue to arise regardless of the pain of our own experiences. I would like to state that based on the results that have come through, that we have taken note of from the polling stations, what we are seeing in Zambia today is a huge referendum against the Patriotic Front and their inability to lead the nation. The Zambian people have watched with great concern over the past 10 years as to how our nation has moved away from what it used to be, the envy of the continent and the envy of the world, to become a nation that is engulfed in violence, a lack of respect for the rule of law, and a lifestyle that is very alien to the Zambian people. When you look at the turnout of this election of close to 80%, if that is even possible, we are all amazed at how Zambians are so decisive. They knew exactly and they know exactly what they want. I would say Zambians you are truly, truly vicious. You know exactly what you want, and you are patient enough to wait until the opportune time comes for you to unleash your determination to create a future for yourselves. So today, this is a referendum against the Patriotic Front. And because of this, I would like to encourage my colleagues that have participated in this election, including myself, that this has nothing to do with the fact that the people of Zambia have something against Nevers Mumba or other opposition leaders. Zambians have an agenda, and they were resolved that in order to remove the Patriotic Front, they have to sacrifice everyone else, including Nevers Mumba, MMD, and other opposition leaders, because they found at this particular time that our colleagues in the UPND were better positioned to be able to create this upset and remove the Patriotic Front from government. They decided to give us even zeros in order to remove the Patriotic Front from government. It is for that reason that, siding with the will of the Zambian people, the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy and myself as candidate finds no fault in the choice of Zambians and in the action of Zambians. Because at the end of the day, Zambians must get what they want. And our responsibility is to support the decision of the Zambians. So we are aware, and I word to my colleagues in the opposition, it's not a rejection of who you are and what you stand for, but it's a referendum demanding that the Patriotic Front packs and moves away from the power, from the levers of power, and give Zambians a fresh start. Fellow Zambians, I want to address myself to the ECZ. I want, first of all, before I say anything, to commend the ECZ for the manner in which they have organized the preparations and the actual management on the actual voting day. We have to be fair that you did an excellent job in ensuring that there was proper process at the polling stations. But the greatest test for you, ECZ, is still ahead of you. And this is exactly what we have been saying as MMD for the longest time. The greatest test now is ahead of you. It's a test for courage. It's a test to side with the Zambian people. It's the test to do the right thing. We have been here as the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, where PF removed us from power, and we wanted to hold on to power. It's just the way it is. Anyone who has been in power will use every lever in his hand to remain in power. But they can do nothing without the manipulation of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Christians across this nation and well-meaning Zambians are praying that may there be courage found in the hearts of men and women in the ECZ to be on the side of the people and do the right thing. We do have results from the polling stations, and we would like to ensure that those results are the same as the ones at the totaling center here in Lusaka. Any variance in those figures can trigger one of the most unsustainable seasons in terms of our security in this nation. I have said before, and I'll repeat this. I said that the greatest danger to Africa's democracies and nations are the electoral commissions on the continent. Outside the military coups that used to take place in Africa, they have been replaced by EC electoral commissions in all these African countries that side with the ruling party and abrogate the will of the citizens of their country. It's this misbehavior by electoral commissions or this misconduct that creates anarchy and creates instability and promotes violence in the nation. We therefore, for the sake of peace, for the sake of our country, we challenge the ECZ to rise up to this occasion and serve the Zambian people to be forever remembered as men and women of resolve, character, morality, and integrity. We ask that the ECZ does nothing to plunge our nation into a bloodshed era. We ask you to back off and allow the will of the Zambian people to prevail. A word to my colleagues and our colleagues in the UPND. We ask for them to have grace in victory which leads to national unity. It is important to realize and understand what the Zambian people have done. What are they asking the UPND to do? They must interpret, our colleagues must interpret this mandate that seemingly is being given to our colleagues. It's a mandate where, as I've said already, it's not that they don't want Nevers Mumba, the Zambians don't want Nevers Mumba to be president. They do. Or MMD to come back into power. They do. But at this particular point, the Zambian people wanted to remove PF from government. And they had to look for a weapon to use which was ready, prepared, and can be used to execute their desire to remove PF. And it fell, the lot fell on the UPND as seemingly the most stable and able to provide the answer that Zambia is looking for. Therefore, our colleagues in UPND have the understanding. I know that my brother HH does have the understanding that they are not doing this for any other reason as Zambians, but because they have got certain issues. They need to deal with certain things. One of those things is corruption. They want the new administration to deal with the issues that have not been talked about, like corruption, tribalism. If you remember, last week on Monday when I addressed the nation, I did mention that it would be a miracle for the Patriotic Front to win this election today, because in 1991, UNIP lost power because of the meal prices. In 2011, the MMD lost power because of perceived corruption. And I went further to say that the UPN and the Patriotic Front has committed two sins. They have raised the cost of meal and they have been deemed to be corrupt. I said if they win as PF, then God will have to apologize to both UNIP and the MMD. It appears as though God may not need to do any apologies going by the numbers that we are seeing at the moment. And therefore, I want our colleagues to understand that what has happened to UNIP, MMD, and now PF can happen to the United Party for National Development. Remember, Kenneth Kaunda was in power for 27 years. MMD was reduced to 20 years. Now PF has been reduced to 10 years. So the span of tolerance for Zambians is reducing every election cycle. And I believe that if our colleagues in the UPND understand what I'm saying, they can stay longer. But otherwise, they could be reduced from 10 to 5 years. Because the span continues to reduce because Zambians are impatient for morality, integrity, and no corruption, and a government that deals with issues that affect them. So, let me also mention, one of the other reasons that I would like to encourage the UPND to understand is that this vote that has come is trying to prove that Zambians don't care about our tribal talk on top. They want a united nation. They decided we're going to vote for this president or this UPND party because we are tired of this tribalism thing, which means our colleagues in the UPND must be worried that now it will no longer be rhetoric about no tribalism. It will be by actions. Because Zambians in every province now are going to be watching how the UPND government is going to deal with this matter. And it is important that this issue of tribalism is dealt with well and well in advance. They must be accommodating so that that issue of the PF, of always concentrating on a small cliche that has the money, that has the contract, the cadres that have the opportunities, that must be destroyed. And Zambians must all enjoy the leadership of the new administration, not being segregated against. The other thing is the arrogance of power that we continue to see in an outgoing government. There's been an arrogance of power by our colleagues. And we are now saying to our colleagues in UPND, do not go that direction. Let humility, morality, integrity, and the love for the Zambians be your guiding light. In that way, the Zambians will stand by you. The other issue that we have is that there is erosion of professionalism under the PF. That the more crooked you are, the more opportunities you have. And the Zambians want order in this country, where the law is observed, regardless of who is under question. And I would like to say today that what we have seen in the past 10 years must never be repeated. Zambia must always be a nation that all of us can be proud of. And therefore, professionalism must come into play, and men and women who qualify to play certain roles must play those roles by merit. And the Zambians also voted against the third term. They voted against the third term. The Concede gave the third term to President Lungu, but the Zambians have always got the final verdict. And they have said to President Lungu and PF, the third term will not be given. And this is really where we are. Now, I want to talk to my colleagues in PF, who are also our colleagues. They are our brothers and sisters. We are from same homes and same places. Don't destroy your future. Don't try anything that will destroy your opportunities or your ability to live amongst us in the years ahead of us. The thing that made KK great, one of the things that made KK great, besides bringing peace to this country, is the manner in which he relinquished power to the movement for multi-party democracy. Don't think that it was not painful for KK. It was very painful to relinquish power. But he realized that there was a legacy ahead of him, and that this is not his personal property. Zambia was not his personal property. It belongs to the Zambian people. With tears in his eyes, Kenneth Kaunda said, I now hand over to my young man, Chuluba, as the president. It was painful. It was painful. But greatness is how you handle your most painful seasons. May I look into the eyes of President Lungu. President Lungu, you have run your race. You're a human being. You made your mistakes. You did some things right. But you will not be remembered by any of those things. You'll be remembered by how you handle yourself today. How you relinquish power, because that's what will remain. President Rupia Banda will be remembered for many things. But the most important thing they'll remember him for was when he cried when he lost the election in 2011. It was not easy. So mwilama nakwati ni mwebo chiwa mine mwekayo. But even with that, he handed over power without the shedding of blood. That's the greatness of Rupiah Banda, with all his attendant problems. Mr. President, we expect you to do the right thing. If you love the Zambian people, like you have said during the time you've been in government, this is the time to do it. And this is the time to make sure you leave a legacy. There is a history on the continent of Africa of some of the presidents that refused to leave power. And their story is the same. President Robert Mugabe, his ending was not that good because he refused to hand it over when he had to. I can give you a list of many others. Today, we don't want to disrupt the legacy of Zambia by a president holding on and creating havoc in the nation. Finally, may I say this. As we now await the election results, I would like to ask all Zambians to remain calm. That's who we are. We're a peaceful nation. There's no need for us to do anything else. Let us trust God that we are going to cross this river and get onto the other side. We don't know what the results are going to be like. But if there's going to be a rerun after these elections, we have, as the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy and myself, I've had talks with the UPND promising the fact that we will support the UPND in the rerun to make sure that what the Zambians want in terms of getting the PF to rest and give Zambians an opportunity to see a new day, we want to be part of making sure that that happens. For the rest of the Zambians, I think time has come for us to search our hearts and know that governments come and governments go. But Zambia will continue to abide. And therefore, I thank you, fellow countrymen, for these few words of counsel to the nation. Let's remain united. Governments change, but the country remains. May God bless our great republic. I thank you.